Press play.
Replay, replay, replay.
You're watching Play Replay with Async. I want to talk about an idea that I had, and it's just something I thought about anyway. And that is, have you ever seen the movie Dark Crystal? It was a cool movie, and I'm not going to talk about the movie so much right now, and it was also a Netflix series that got canceled after one season, unfortunately. But the whole universe of Dark Crystal is pretty amazing. Just the way everything looks, the Gelflings and the Skeksis or whatever, it just the way they're all designed is such a they spent so much. It was an art form, I'll tell you that. I mean, it was just a work of art. It's puppets and everything, yes. But the way they did it in its own universe, it's basically like we do nowadays with the CGI animated cartoon movies. They just did it with puppets back then. But the way they did it and the amount of work and effort that it took to create this whole world, I think it was just genius. Now, when I was a kid growing up, the movie wasn't very popular originally when I was growing up. I don't even know if it's really super popular now. But the whole thing about it was it's on another planet and it's all this stuff going on between. It's like a war between the elites and the general little people. You know what I mean? That's kind of what, if you look at the story the way it's told, it's these elite people that want to live forever and they want to milk these Gelflings and all these creatures that are innocent for their basically their life force. And they're like vampires. They're milking them to try to live longer and longer and longer. And they'll never want to release the power that they have. And I mean, that kind of sounds like certain groups of people today, but that's crazy talk as far as some people might say. But anyway, it sounds kind of like the world we're living in now, that the elites and the corrupt people at the top just don't want to renounce their power, so they'll just keep working and working no matter how old they get. And they will not retire because that power, they just got to hold on to it until it's gone. Okay, so anyway, one day they'll not be around anymore and they won't have that power. So it's kind of sad that they have to work so hard to hold on to it and not give the people back the ability to make their own choices. But this story is pretty much that. It tells you a story about the Gelflings and their persecution, I guess, by the Skeksis or whatever. And they are, I don't know. Tell me if I'm saying that name correctly, because I can't remember if it's Skeksis or Skeks. I don't remember. Anyway, but they're just the evil-looking ones. So, and then you get the wise mystics and all that stuff. But anyway, the whole thing about that, though, would make for a great video game. And I know some of you are probably going, wait, this is already a video game. And yes, I agree that it is a video game. But unfortunately, it's a role-playing video game that you can't actually open world, go out and play a character and actually experience stories. I think this is what my idea is. I think that the Dark Crystal series should be a video game that should be open world like Skyrim, because so many games would do well to have that kind of mold to use to make video games. Because it's a lot of people would like to be able to be free to go and live in the world that they're invested in and they're fans of, like Masters of the Universe, Transformers, stuff like that, where you could actually have an open world place where you can just be the character you want and go and do all these things and talk to other characters that you've known or whatever. That mold would be good for many video games, not just the Dark Crystal series. But I think that it would do well in for the Dark Crystal series, because I think that it would actually draw more people to the series and to the actual Jim Henson, the whole franchise, that he created. And I think that would work well, because a lot of people would like to play as like one of these Gelflings or whatever as they go out into the world and experience what the Skeksis are doing and all the things that are happening, and maybe have like a hero. It would almost feel like a Legend of Zelda game as far as I'm concerned. And just have a big open world, much like Tears of the Kingdom or whatever, not with the construction of building of all this stuff, but I'm saying like open world and be able to get different weapons and be able to go and do different missions, talk to different people from different tribes and different nations or whatever, and just kind of be able to go and travel and solve the story and have many missions and little places that you can help people, talk to people, get missions from them. You know, the same old stuff that they do with Skyrim. And you could just do that. It would look so good with the Dark Crystal franchise. It would just fit it perfectly because it's a big world. It's an interesting looking place. It doesn't look like anything else. So it would instantly get people to want to play it just because it's so different from anything else. And that's one of its best traits. So I don't see why these big studios, they don't have any creativity. They just want to remake old games that were really good, which is great. I think that they should update older games because they were classic. So that's fine and everything. But we need new franchises to start to, to get people to want to play new games and to maybe buy consoles or whatever. So I think that the Dark Crystal franchise would be a great one to add to that because it's just got such a deep world that they've built, that they have so many details. It's just, there's like a book out there that you can buy. It's like a Dark Crystal book. It's a huge giant book, and that book is just amazing to look through. Just the amount of artwork that's in that thing is just mind-boggling, and it's all creative just for the Dark Crystal franchise. There's not a lot of franchises that get giant books with so much like mythos and history. I mean, it's like Lord of the Rings almost. And I'm not saying I'm comparing those two to be equal. I'm just saying that it has that kind of mythology around it. They've actually built up and designed so many things that it feels like the world is actually a living and breathing place. And so would the video game if they did it properly. And having it be an open world game where you can go and experience things, and maybe, I know video game companies like to have DLC and paid extra pieces to add to the game. So maybe they could have different skins for characters that you could play of different different creatures or whatever in the series, and that would kind of make money for them extra, and it would do well to make the franchise grow as well. I'm not saying that I'm into the pay, as you go type of games where you can buy extra stuff, but I'm just saying that for a company, this would be a great business plan. I'll say it that way. But the Dark Crystal franchise, it would be just a cool thing, especially now they have the Netflix series. They have more stuff that they built in that, so you can kind of see how things came to be. So now we get a glimpse as to more parts of the universe. And I think the Netflix series, I think it did well. I mean, I think it did well with the story and keeping it true to what Dark Crystal is. But the movie is the main thing, obviously. But I think that what they did with the Netflix show was pretty good. You could definitely tell that there's some time and effort that went into that. And I think that fills in a lot of gaps so that when they go to make a video game, they have a lot of images and background stuff that they could use if they love. I mean, you have to get people who enjoy the franchise on the job, of course, and not just hire a bunch of people that hate it and want to put woke stuff in it. But I'm saying that actually enjoy this universe and want to create more of it. But it's just so much they could do with a Dark Crystal open world game and be able to battle and fight things too. That's another thing. Be able to ride on things, some of these characters can fly a little bit. I mean, have little elements of all these things thrown into the world and just make it a good full experience of the Dark Crystal universe. But I don't want to talk forever. I'm more interested to hear what other people might think of this idea and to hear if anybody else had thought of this, or maybe there is a game in development that is like this. Maybe I'm just not up to date on my games being developed, and maybe there's something out there. I don't know. I know there's an RPG game that came out or whatever, that a role playing one or something, and it looks good, but I just can't get into that turn based strategy type stuff. I like hands on. You go and do this stuff, and you actually physically do it. Like a Zelda game or something, or like a Skyrim or something. Like that. So tell me what you think about this in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.